1964 Chevrolet Corvair. Corv because Corvette. Air because, well, Bel Air. Or it's not water cooled. You take your pick.
Little sad Corvair. Baby, you're not that fast.
Yes, this one is sand. It's not white. We looked up the paint code. In 1964, in the United States, if you wanted a rear-mounted, air-cooled engine, there were options. Volkswagen Type 1, Type 2, Type 34, Fiat 500, Porsche 911, Porsche 356. You were still 2 years away from the Porsche 912 in the States. But if you wanted to buy American, your only option was the Chevy Corvair. And to this day, it remains the only American model ever produced with a rear-mounted, air-cooled engine.
1964 Chevrolet Corvair, the official car of guys standing around at the park saying, "My buddy had one, Am."
When I pointed out the watercraft-like handling characteristics with an idiotic comment, Jim quickly reminded me of the Corvair's origin story. It floats a little bit.
This is an American car.
Yeah. And so we all took our turn driving around this park in the only air-cooled rear-engine automobile this great nation ever produced, floating around these turns as the flat six-cylinder pushed us forward, cooling itself with nothing but the sweet Maryland October air.
This one's gonna tell you exactly what it thinks about your stupid Y2K Green Party candidate. If everybody just voted what they believe, blah, 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 blah.
Green Party.
Hi ho, Keegan the Vlog here. Welcome back to TR3 Wrench Time. So today we're going to be talking about the engine. We're also going out to the shop here with some truck parts, but we're going to be talking about the engine. And specifically, we're going to be talking about our decision to have it professionally restored by John Tokar's shop up in Union Bridge, Maryland. So in order to do this, we're going to have to go back in time a little bit and show you the process of tearing it down.
Dear Strongbad, can you show me the process?
And how we got to the decision to send it off to get professionally restored. Unfortunately, the bottom end of this motor is seized, even though it was professionally rebuilt 10,000 miles before the transmission failed. The 40 years of sitting just didn't agree with it. So back in July, we made arrangements with Tokar to take it in October. Here we are in October, and we just delivered the engine this past week to Tokar's shop, and what a cool place and a great group of people. So I'm going to get to share some of that with you later in the episode. But first, we're going to go back in time to the disassembly process and show you what we found. Get the obligatory Keegan's Band music over some fast motion footage, and we'll do that and see you back here before we take off to Tokar's shop. Stay tuned. Engine on this car was rebuilt less than 10,000 miles before it got put up on jack stands. So I do not believe we are going to need to quote-unquote rebuild this engine.
Time tonight. Oh, I'll be there. The party
Today we are going to make the journey up to Union Bridge, Maryland, and apparently Tokar's shop is pretty spectacular, so I am excited. He is very well known in this community of British restorations, British car restorations, so looking forward to meeting him and seeing his shop and his operation, and hopefully picking his brain a little bit on some of the things that I'm hung up on right now too. So off we go.
We've been in business 27 years, and I've been working on these cars for about 50 years, so I've pretty much seen it all.
Well, when I found you online and told the guys at the shop where I was taking it, they all knew who you were. So
We have an international reputation.
yeah,
I've got a very excellent staff. We work on everything, soup to nuts, whatever. We do a lot of MGs, a lot of Triumphs. It's an MG TD 52.
this is a TD.
It came to us like a mess, and we take all the panels and sandblast them to white metal, and then epoxy prime them, and then reconstruct each panel separately. Put a new battery box in here.
Oh yeah.
And we're working on, we put a new back section here. This is all new wood. Okay.
Because wood.
And it's on a frame right now, we're using the frame as the jig. That's gonna be the frame we're gonna use for the car. We'll go ahead and blast that to metal, do metal and epoxy prime it and paint it. And then we have, here's one of our bigger projects, E-Type 62 Jaguar XP. We've got the guys in the UK manufacturing us a full floor.
No kidding.
So we're gonna cut this in half. We're gonna put
You're gonna cut the car in half? You're gonna do it that way?
put a floor in it. Yep.
Wow.
The floor's gonna cover from this point all the way to that side.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
I can show you my railroad stuff being right here, if you're interested in that. You notice the tracks outside?
Yes.
This is, we do live steam restoration and building and full-size railroad equipment. This is what they call a speeder. Fairmont made these in '58. That's a Waukesha flathead in that. This is also a Fairmont speeder, but this is steam powered. It was converted to steam by a naval engineer. And my engineers, this is a steam locomotive they built from scratch.
You built this from scratch?
Yep.
Oh, that's
Based on a 1913 Baldwin locomotive. Weighs over 2,000 pounds. It'll pull 10 cars with 20 people. And it's coal fired. Here, see? Anybody that's operated a full-size locomotive would run this thing. It runs exactly the same. Here's your coal. The water's in here.
Which means you're qualified now to run a full-size locomotive.
Yeah, I've worked on the ones over at the B&O Museum, the Rail Museum.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
I worked on these, on that. And then I used Baldwin locomotive engineering drawings and scaled everything down. Stuff that I couldn't buy, I fabricated. Some stuff you can buy, like castings and stuff. Like there's the tender. This is the actual tender. That was drawn from there. See, here's the scaled down numbers here. That's
My goodness.
So we had a lot of work.
This is no joke.
No.
Oh man, I like this sedan. Oh, it's a convertible.
Yeah, that's a Herald.
Holy shit.
That is a railroad.
Yeah.
Not worth very much, but
I
worth this
remember
railroad.
when,
Worth this railroad.
That's pretty.
when I was a kid and we lived in Germany, my neighbor had one.
Real. Check the dash out.
Whose vehicle?
This
is
belongs to a lady who lives out local. Her mother bought this car in '64 new.
that? No shit.
It sat out in the cornfield for 30 years. And it was a pile of rust when we got it.
Really? Oh man, you guys did a beautiful job.
Here's Yeah. a 3A. That's a is this an original?
That's a 3A.
This is not an original color though, is it? Is this?
Yes, it is.
That's an original.
Apple green.
I've never seen one that color.
You won't see them. The racing teams use them mostly.
Oh, interesting.
But apple green is the original color.
Huh.
Now here's the Morse interior.
Okay.
Very nice.
No, it is very nice. Yeah. One of the things that I've run into on the floors are everything seems to line up perfectly except for the bolts that are in the center.
But you know, the reproduction stuff is so-so. It's not altogether perfect.
You just hog those bolts, the holes
hog
out?
the holes out.
Yeah.
That's all you do. Everyone we've done, they don't line up.
They don't line up. Okay. Yeah.
The whole thing about these cars, what you're really looking for is the door gap.
Yeah.
The door gap and the squareness to the body.
Yep.
And everything else behind you don't really care about, because what you want to do is put together what you see.
I like the Morse.
Morris, we do a lot of those.
Really?
Yeah. They do a lot. Oh yeah, we've had, and I think last year we've had probably a dozen the last 2 years or so. The lead lubricated the seats to extend the valve life over time. But in the amount of time that you put on this car in your lifetime, it's not going to be anywhere near what it was from the factory.
Right.
So something else is probably going to break and wear out before the valve seats fail.
Okay.
So it's almost not worth doing it.
Right.
I've had an MGA that I've been running around. I don't have pictures of it somewhere. I rebuilt that engine in 73 or something, and it still runs fine, no issues.
Okay.
It's just that it's going to take 40 to 50 to 60,000 miles before you start to see wear. The real thing you really got to be aware of now is zinc in the oil. And we use a Valvoline VR1 20W50, a high zinc oil from the factory.
Okay, so you want zinc in the oil?
You definitely want zinc, because EPA took the zinc out because the zinc screwed up catalytic converters. The camshaft is what will wear out if you don't have zinc in it. So you can either put a zinc additive, or you could get the oil that's already got the zinc in it. You get the Valvoline 2050, you'll be fine. And then the last thing is, most importantly, is the fuel, the gas. The ethanol in the fuel kills everybody today. It destroys everything it touches. If you can get ethanol-free gas, that's your best option.
Best option.
Or you use something called Startron. It's a gas stabilizer.
Hey, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure having you guys.
Pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for coming over.
Yeah.
And tour. Well, hang in there now.
Yeah, you
Thank you
too.
much.
Nice to meet you.
Guys, take care.
Hey, that's going to do it for this episode of TR3 Wrench Time, the engine. So I hope you guys liked seeing Tokar's shop. A big thank you to John and his staff for showing us around, taking the time to show us around, and allowing us to film for this episode and post this on YouTube. Thank you so much. That was super cool to see. Got some great information. We learned a lot by picking John's brain. Obviously, he's been doing it for 50 years, so we had a great source of information that we got. We figured out some things about the the metal pieces that we're using, how to deal with some of the not quite perfect tolerances, and not expect them to be perfect. So there's nothing else wrong with the car. We just have to do a little bit of modification to those parts. Not a big deal at all. So thank you for that. As far as the engine goes, we got some great technical information about the head and unleaded gasoline, and made the decision not to modify the head, specifically put in the hardened valve seats for unleaded fuel. Not going to be an issue with it. We're never going to put 60,000 miles on this car, so not a big deal at all. We're going to go. We're just going to go straight up rebuild on the motor. Also, we learned about the oil, the 20W50 weight. The zinc content of the oil, so we'll be using that Valvoline VR1 if we can get our hands on it. Otherwise, we're going to be looking for a zinc substitute. As far as the fuel goes, I'm very familiar with ethanol fuel. This car doesn't get much action, so it takes, maybe it goes through 2 tanks of fuel in a year. So this time of year, I try to run it out of gas or very close to out of gas, put a stabilizer in it, and then, you know, in April or May, fire it back up, put new gas in it, a full tank of gas in it, and that, I haven't had any problems with it, doing that in 20 years. Still to come, we are still working on that middle section of the body, so episode 4 of the body tub restoration is in the works. We are producing that right now, so stay tuned for that. If the opening sequence confused you, that was an homage to one of my favorite YouTube channels, Regular Car Reviews. If you haven't seen Regular Car Reviews, A, I don't know what you're doing on this channel. B, go watch RCR. They are awesome. Also, Mr. Regular, the Roman, if somehow you're watching this, open invitation to come down to Annapolis and film 6 months worth of content. We've got all kinds of stuff. Admittedly, a lot of it isn't regular, but it still would be fun. And I've got Mr. Regular's favorite car sitting right here, and you think you hate it now, wait until you drive it. So anyway, like and subscribe. This one was a lot of fun to make. I hope you all enjoyed coming along and meeting John Tokar and seeing, it was so much to talk about. Even the railroad stuff was just amazing. So hopefully we get some more cool stuff like that up in the future, and we'll see you next time right here on TR3 Wrench Time.